Go. Hello and welcome back to the Parajacks podcast. Yeah, we have a special guest on today,
Our
Zoomer
first
Nation.
guest, may I add.
Our first guest on episode 6, I believe. Right?
6?
It's 6, yeah. All right.
Talk louder, dumbass.
I'm talking as loud as I can. I don't have my microphone because I was being dumb and I left it at home.
Okay.
All right.
Well, speaking of at home, you're at college.
Yes, I am.
Name drop your university. Get clout.
Shout out Mercyhurst University in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, now I just can't hear you.
What?
Now I just can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know. Ask our guest.
Oh, this is a disaster. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Anyways, do we have topics for today?
No, but we have a lot of elephants in the room.
Yeah, the room's like a damn zoo.
Yeah, it is like a zoo. And by that, mostly, I mean, I got my license. So if you see anyone going about 125 on a 35 road, hi. That's probably me. I got need for speed, bruh. Need.
You've got need for speed. Okay. So, we didn't come up with any topics this time. We probably should have.
Well, no, I assumed that Zoomer Nation here wanted to talk about certain things.
Is there any topic you have?
Nothing in particular. Whatever place you guys want to go.
Okay, well, I follow you on Twitter, so I'll just go what I see on Twitter. So you've been posting a lot about egoism.
Right.
What is them?
Egoism. You want to explain what that even is?
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, sure. It's the idea that you should put your self-interest before other things like abstractions, like God, humanity, the state, so on and so forth, or any particular economic system. So your individual interest should be the self-operating factor in how you organize your behaviors and so forth.
I'm cool with that, except the God part. I gotta put my trust in my man, homie. He's my homie, God. Love you.
No, you're religious.
No, but I actually do like egoism. I don't know. I'll have to look deeper into it, but by the way you explained it, sounds pretty nice.
Isn't it like a form of anarchism? Like,
Yeah, but
it's it's post-left anarchism, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's different from other forms of anarchism because it's less concerned about like human liberation and more concerned about individual liberation that'll still ultimately benefit everyone in the long run.
So, like, what made you? Because it's a pretty recently, you pretty recently came into anarchism, like from the past few weeks, from what I've seen. What made you, what sold you on egoism?
I've been an anarchist for like a few months actually, but
I meant egoism in particular. What sold you on egoism?
yeah, so I just think like reflecting on our own existence, there does seem to be like this responsibility that we are forced to settle with society, or this responsibilities that we're supposed to carry out. And they tell us it's because of this greater good, but why ought we do that if it contradicts our own self-interest? There's that sort of dilemma, that contradiction. And I think the idea of this voluntary union of egoists is what they describe as a solution. I think that's what can help mitigate a lot of the problems in society. So I see egoism as a good path for them.
No, doesn't a union of egoists, doesn't that seem kind of like a contradiction? I don't know, I'm not educated.
I'm against unions, but like a union of egoists.
What is that doesn't that kind of contradict the whole premise of self-interest if it's a union of it? I'm not really educated, so.
Right. So the reason it doesn't contradict the self-interest is because there's a reciprocal utility in having a union of egos, meaning like if we all just did whatever we wanted, that actually would not be in our self-interest because we'd be killing each other, we'd be mauling each other to death. There seems to be like a demonstrable like biological reality that we need to formulate communities in our own self-interest that are voluntary, that aren't coercive, that aren't based on like abstract ideals, but still, you respect each other's humanities by virtue of your own interest, not the interest of humanity, because you want to survive and live a relatively prosperous life.
Hold up, hold up. What's wrong with cannibalism? I'm cool with it.
Um, so basically, like the
I mean, if
argument,
you're on a desert island and it's you or them, I'm gonna kill them.
yeah, of course, that would be ethically justified in that situation because like that's your personal utility, right? Like, but if it was cannibalism with like our current communities, that would be different because that's not in your self-interest. Because if you set the precedent that we can eat people, then your life is at peril. So you probably don't, in your own self-interest, want to aspire towards
Yeah,
that.
that's some Ted Bundy shit, like right there, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, with eating people. Here on the Pair of Jacks podcast, we do not support cannibalism.
Hey, 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 hey! You don't, and Zoomer Nation doesn't. I didn't say anything. I'm neutral.
You're neutral on cannibalism. Okay, that's
Yes.
fair.
I mean, I haven't tasted human. If it tastes like chicken, I might be down.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I mean, put some teriyaki or barbecue sauce on that shit. Mmm,
I mean,
yummy.
at least you're consistent about that.
Right, thank you.
Uh,
But oh my god. So I'm just okay. Yeah, this is how my life is. Thank you. I'm just surprised. Oh my god. So exciting news in my life. I'm going to boarding school.
Congratulations. I already knew that, but I'm gonna act like I just found out.
It's a big surprise. No, it's like a real nice school, and I have my own dorm, so I can record. And I'm super pumped. It's like a mini college, except it's not college yet. Kind of like that.
Do you have like a roommate there, or?
Nope, single dorm.
Hmm,
Interesting.
yeah.
I don't know. I just want to mention that because I know people I have not told that watching this podcast. So sorry I didn't tell you yet.
All right. What's next on the list? The imaginary list, because we didn't make one.
Pronouns.
What's my pronouns?
No discussion on them. But if you want to say your pronouns, let's go.
My pronouns are he, him. Who's next? This is very awkward. I don't know.
Ditto. Me too.
It's fine. I don't know. I don't know if I want to answer this.
Okay.
Fair enough. But let's have a discussion on the validity of them.
Sure, why not?
Validity of pronouns. Doesn't everyone have pronouns though? It's like
No, I mean like different pronouns.
you mean like
they,
not
them,
non like the weird ones that are like Zer. That you're talking about those?
or they, them, or it.
No one uses it as a pronoun. I told you this earlier. No one uses it to refer
Hey,
to.
hey, hey, hey!
It's
If someone
dehumanizing.
wants me to call them it, I'm happy to.
Yeah, but I've never met anyone who wants to be called it. I don't know what your obsession is with people calling.
No, cousin Ed from the Addams Family.
You know that's fictional,
So,
right?
no, that's fair. Like, so, what would be your argument against self-identification through this different pronouns?
For self-identity, it's okay. Here's the thing: if you want to change your gender, go from he, him to she, her, whatever. It's your prerogative. But and I'll adjust my speech accordingly. I've done it in the past. I have no problem with that. But I've been using the same gendered language, he, him, she, hers, for my whole life. I'm not gonna consciously analyze all my speech just for someone it might not affect, you know?
Okay, so think of it this way, right? So why ought like your past language habits supersede the well-being of another person in terms of what we should take
I'm
into
not saying I don't think it's well-being.
well well every like reputable psychiatric organization describes gender as a spectrum. So like there's definitely going to be some impact on emotional well-being if you deliberately misgender someone because you personally don't like the language that you have to.
I don't deliberately do it. It's accidental because I'm not used to it and I don't get it, frankly.
Okay, so I mean that's fine if you like. I'm sure I'm against like saying, "Oh, you're an douchebag for accidentally misgendering someone." Like I understand that happens. I've done that before, but I do think that like we should at least try to respect other people's self-identification because like when you're operating with a socially engineered concept, I mean, there's has to be some degree of flexibility to serve human utility, right?
Is gender a socially engineered construct?
Yeah, it
It
absolutely.
is, yeah.
I don't
Like,
think so.
uh,
Yeah,
um,
gender actually came into existence during the agricultural revolution to subordinate one group of people by another. That's like the like the
Occupied,
essence of gender. I mean,
not
yeah,
talking, someone's knocking on my door.
yeah, virtually every like scientific textbook and scientific organization says sex and gender are distinct concepts. And you
yeah.
could actually make
Gender
a
only came
point about
gender only came into use with I forget the name, but it was probably the first gender studies person. I don't want to say professor because they didn't teach it, but they wrote several books about it. It was some, I think, French person, French woman. It only came to it. The word only started being used in the 1940s. So I
right,
don't.
but that doesn't negate that it's not a social construct, right? Because you could still say that it's a
Well, before
descriptor
that,
of genetics.
there was no difference between gender and sex. So if anything, the different differentiating between gender and sex is the social
Okay,
construct, not
so
gender itself.
2 points to make, right? So what's the foundational basis for sex? The XXXY chromosome, right? So that was discovered in 1905. The concept of gender as a socially engineered concept with certain immutable attributes to it, it predates that by many millenniums. So
Right.
you might say that the term gender might not have existed, but that's more terminological. It's not like a descriptor. Like gender as a descriptor predates the use of that terminology. Like concepts predate the use of that term to describe that concept in the first place.
Okay. Fair enough. I was using the literal definition. You got me. But I still think that gender is heavily related to sex because no matter like a trans person, I'll call them whatever they want to be called. But you can't change their genetics. You can't change every chromosome in every single cell of their body. That's impossible.
Okay, so even if we were to like take that argument to its logical conclusion, right? Even if gender and sex were heavily related, that wouldn't really negate the fact that some people fit outside that normative reality, right? Some people might not fit into that descriptor. Like most women might be biological women, most men might be biological men, but even if that's generally like connected, there might be outliers to that. There's always statistical outliers. So I don't necessarily think that fact is like a negation. And like I said, I do think that even if sex and gender have some connections, I don't think they're like the same concept. So I can still see the idea of transgenderism being valid.
No, I never said transgenderism wasn't valid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm cool with transgenderism. Like, I mean, I'm still like getting used to it. I'm not exactly. I'm still getting used to it. I have no problem with it inherently, but my problem is with like non-binaries. I just can't not get behind it. I just can't get it.
Non-binary people.
Well, no, the idea of not being a man or a woman. I mean,
Well, if gender is socially constructed, then
I feel like we're just gonna go and repeat, yeah, because
yeah, I feel like this is going in circles.
yeah.
well, that doesn't make sense because all our profile pictures are squares. So
Okay. We can't have an episode of this podcast without you making a bad joke.
You're,
Hey,
do you guys
multiple.
want to talk about do you guys want to talk about Black Lives Matter or something?
Yes, politics. Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Wait, Zoomer, don't you agree with Jack on most things politically, right?
I'd say I'm more to the left of Jack.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, she's sorry, I fucked up. Whatever pronouns you use, you are further to the left than me.
So I'm being gangbanged by socialists. Let's go.
Hey, if you think you're so right, then your arguments should be able to.
I mean, I literally am right. I'm right wing.
Okay, if you think you're correct.
Yeah, no. Let's discuss.
Yeah.
So what about Black Lives Matter specifically?
So do you want to what do you think of the George Floyd thing? You could start with that if you want.
One sec, I checked that. When the body cam footage first came out, I think everyone in America, bar the most racist of the racist.
Like Nick Fuentes or something.
Oh yeah. We all hate Nick Fuentes here.
Oh yeah, fuck Nick Fuentes.
We're Jewish, so we kind of have to hate him.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I hate the alt-right. It's such a small, fringe, and crazy movement. Oh my god.
Anyways,
But when people can put right and alt-right together, I'm a neoconservative, classical liberals, about the same thing. But anyways, the more recent footage of the George Floyd put a bit more like questions in the air, but it was still obviously unjustified. But it wasn't as cut and dry as the media made it seem.
what do you
But
think?
obviously
What do
it
you
was-
think changed?
No, what the whole video came out, and
Yeah,
obviously-
there was some resistance, yeah.
Yeah, there was some resistance. Obviously, the cops shouldn't have killed him. Obviously, that the four cops that let this happen should be. I don't care if you lock him up and throw the key away or kill him. I don't care. Whatever, death penalty or not, they should be heavily punished. But there was some resistance, so it's not like it wasn't as peaceful as the media said it was. But obviously, it was still extremely.
I don't think if the resistance is even relevant to the conversation.
No. But obviously, I'm saying it's extremely unjustified. But I'm saying the media portrayed it like he was an angel.
I was just asking to make sure we agree that particular area that there's definitely wrongdoing. Okay, so
No, I don't think I'm being extreme with that. I'm just saying it's the media kind of did exaggerate and lie a bit, but obviously it was still horrible.
okay.
All right,
So
you can go.
yeah, I was gonna ask. Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna ask. So I suppose you don't agree with the response that people had to the killing, like the protests and stuff.
I'm fine with protesting. Just when it got violent and the looting, you're just hurting black-owned businesses. You know how many black-owned businesses got killed, got hurt in Portland, Seattle, Chicago, New York? You're just hurting the community more than you're helping it at this point. Because most businesses that are affected were not owned by rich white people.
Okay.
They're owned by local black people. You know?
I think I'm cutting out.
You're cutting out a little.
Could you repeat what you said?
Oh yeah. I said that most of the businesses affected were locally black owned. So you're just hurting the community more than you're helping it by
Is that true? Is there
it is true.
that most of the businesses that were destroyed were black owned?
I don't think it was most. I think there was some, but I don't.
No, mostly black owned. It was I think it was above 50%.
By the way, I'm fine with destroying black owned businesses. So so here's what I'll say. Okay, so I don't know if I agree with the premise that it was most black owned businesses, but
it was more than 50. So I think
I'm gonna need to look at that data, but I think I'm fine with destroying black owned private property to try to undermine the police. Yeah, because I think there's demonstrable evidence that some degree of violence being utilized to bring forth social change actually is effective to an extent. without Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. would be way less palatable. So like I do see the destruction of private property as a contributing force in social.
Even if that's true, and let's just go with the premise that is true. I don't think it is. Let's just go with that. Do you really want to hurt the community you're trying to help, though? You're just pushing it farther down while simultaneously trying to raise it up.
Okay, so
Kind of a dichotomy.
yeah, sure. I think that systems are more accountable to the community than private property relations. So like I think trying to hold the system, the structure accountable is more significant than trying to preserve certain private corporations within a community in terms of overall utility and benefiting people as a whole. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I don't agree with your argument. If I was still a left winger, I see your argument. I don't agree with it.
Okay.
Okay, that's basically what I'm gonna say.
All right. I think we should get into the juicy bits of, is there systemic racism in the United States of America?
I was just about to get to that actually. So
Yeah.
Okay, can I first ask, do you think there's systemic anti-Semitism in America?
systemic anti-Semitism.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think there used to be.
Okay.
There definitely used to be. Is there still widespread anti-Semitism? Of course. But is it systemic? No.
All right.
I think there definitely used to be. 100%. We just got over it. It stopped in the civil rights. When my dad first moved to Shaker, it's a city in Ohio, his parents were renting a house before they bought. They had to ask neighbors, the realtor had to ask neighbors if they would let Jews move in. Yes, there definitely used to be. But and systemic anti-Semitism now? No. Do I think there's some residual? Of course. But do I think it's systemic? No.
Okay, that's fair. I don't even know why I asked that. I was just curious because
No. I think that was actually a fair argument because if I would have said yes, there's systemic anti-Semitism, but no, there isn't systemic anti-blackness, that would have been hypocritical.
yeah, it wouldn't be a demonstrable claim. Yeah.
No, but I don't think it's true for either of them. Is there residual effects? You can argue yes, you could argue no. But
Well, if there's residual effects of systemic racism, isn't that in itself kind of still systemic racism? If the systemic racism of the past is still affecting
Yeah, I would argue.
people today,
Yeah, so I would argue it
that's
is
still
systemic.
is
I
that
think-
still
I
systemic?
really don't think there is systemic, even residual still.
So I think, okay, so here's why I think there is systemic anti-Semitism in America, okay? So, for example, like hate crimes are a very pervasive issue. And you could argue, okay, that's not systemic, but what happens? Okay, we cut funding to the anti-white supremacist portions of the FBI, which are dedicated to trying to fight white supremacy and the alt-right. That's a demonstrable reality. We cut funding to that significantly, which
Because
then crimes.
because the number of white supremacist groups that are actually committing hate crimes is going down. It's more hate crimes are being committed more by other races now. It's not just a white issue.
No,
Like,
No, white
that's not true.
nationalists are the
It's
biggest.
Half of the hate crimes against Jews. By the way, Jews are the most persecuted group by hate crime in America. Yes,
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
believe that is actually true.
That is true.
That is by a large margin. It's like 70-odd%.
Yes, so I'm saying that if there's such a pervasive issue of, anti-Jewish hate crimes, you shouldn't really be cutting funding to those components of the FBI, even if we were to grant the fact that, there's a slight decline, which I'd have to look at.
It's actually a large decline. More than half of the hate crimes committed against Jews in New York are committed by people of color. So I don't really think it's a white supremacist issue anymore. I think it's just an
anti-Semitic. But the overwhelming majority of the anti-Semitic attacks against Jewish people are not Black people. There's definitely, I forgot the organization, the Black people who think they're Jewish or something. I don't know.
Black people are Israelites.
Black Israelites or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're bad and they're terrible. But I think that
They're
looking at the totality, I'd say empirically there's a lot more white people engaging in anti-Semitic hate crimes than Black people. And we obviously don't have
I'm not sure if it's a lot more. I really am not sure.
The Black Israelites aren't going into synagogues and shooting Jewish people like the white supremacists are. It's just not comparable.
Yeah, and that's just one example.
No, the media doesn't report about. The media actually, it's come out when people of color commit hate crimes, the media reports about it way less. Like there was a Jewish grocery store, I think in New Jersey, shot up December 2019, 2 weeks before that shooting at the rabbi's house in San Diego. 2 weeks before, 6 people were killed. Media didn't talk about it because it was two black Hebrew Israel.
Okay, but that's an anecdote, right? Like it's not necessarily
Right, it's
demonstrative.
an anecdote, but it's a sample of a larger trend that's going on.
Okay, this is the argument Lauren Southern made when she debated Destiny. Okay, so anecdotes aren't necessarily demonstrative of the entire empirical reality, right? You could point at anecdotes and you might show double standards, but that doesn't necessarily lead to the conclusion that, oh, there's less white supremacist terror attacks against Jews than the media. There's more white supremacist terror attacks against Jews perpetrated by whites than what the media is telling us. Like, it doesn't really necessarily lead to that conclusion.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm sure it's not your main focus. You're not a Jew, and that's okay. You're not supposed to be focused on that. I
Wait, what? No, I'm equally focused on. I think that's
no. I'm not saying you're against Jews. I'm saying your main priority is not hating anti-Semitism. It's other priorities, and I understand that.
I don't think you have to be Jewish to hate anti-Semitism.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you don't know all the facts, that's fine. But I'm saying the media is not just a reliable source because the media is not the most trustworthy source. On either side, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, I don't trust any of them.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I still don't agree with like your interpretation of the data, but okay. So that's just one example of what I think is systemic anti-Semitism. I also think that systemic anti-Semitism stems from like the reproduction of like culture that's anti-Semitic. You could argue that's systemic, right? Because what influences culture? It's partially the systems of organization we operate under. And when you have this sort of scapegoating of Jewish people as being more successful, billionaires, wealthy, that's what influences a culture to act in a hostile fashion towards that marginalized community.
Even like the George Soros conspiracy of how George Soros is like controlling everything is kind of anti-Semitic.
I mean, I've heard like that he's like a full bleeding heart communist supporting revolution, but he's got not the cream of the crop. He's a pretty shady guy.
Well, George Soros is like used as like a shady figure who's like funding the left or some crazy.
I think he is a shady guy, but I don't buy into most of the conspiracy theories.
Okay. But that's like an example of like how we have like cultural anti-Semitism.
Right, or like in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, there are a lot of Jewish landlords, and so there's a lot of anti-Semitism because it's a Jewish neighborhood right against a poor black neighborhood, and it's a well-off Jewish neighborhood. So there's a lot of tension, especially blacks towards Jews. So there is systemic against. You're right, white people hating on George Soros, but black people hating on the Orthodox in Brooklyn. You know, it's kind of you have it on both sides, really.
Okay. So yeah, I just don't agree with you that there's no anti-Semitic, like systemic anti-Semitism that exists.
I've experienced anti-Semitism, and do I think it's pervasive? Sure. Do I think it's systemic? No, I think it's just dickheads, honestly.
Okay, that's fair. So I guess we can move on to black racism since we
it's just the very relevant issue right now. Systemic racism, does it exist? I think it does because I'm not an idiot, but
I think the war on drugs is all you need to say, to be honest.
Yeah, that's like honestly, that's not even like the criminal justice system is like so racist. It's not even like it's not even like debatable pretty much. I don't even understand how you can debate it.
The criminal justice system, yeah, no, I'll give you that. It's not the best, put it mildly. Do I think America in whole is racist? Of course not. But are there certain?
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah, wait, what?
What does that mean? America?
What do you mean by America as a whole?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by America as a whole. Like,
what do you mean by like America as a whole? Do you mean like the people in America? Because no one's saying every person, like everyone in America is racist. No one thinks that.
No. I know you don't. But what I mean is, I don't think the government is purposely putting down black people. I mean, one could argue, and I might, that there is some systemic white racism growing against white people because of actions like because of things like affirmative action.
Oh no, that's not even.
I'm very anti-affirmative action. I'm a merit. I just am for merit because America's based off merit.
We don't live in a meritocracy. That's the problem, though.
Yeah, America's not based off merit. There's definitely
never been.
I think it should be.
Well, that's a different conversation.
Wait,
but right now,
are you
if we
guys
got
in
rid of
favor of
affirmative action, then
I
we
think-
wouldn't have a meritocracy.
In order to have a productive discussion, are you guys for a meritocracy? Yes or no?
That's complicated.
Am I for a meritocracy? We can operate with the premise that I am, sure.
Yep. I'm
Okay.
willing to make.
Because if you guys didn't agree, there was no place we could go from here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I
let's-
can operate with that
let's-
premise.
Let's use the assumption that we're all for meritocracy to make it easier.
Okay, yeah. You guys said you were, and I believe you because you guys wouldn't lie about that because you guys are very set in your values, which I highly respect. Most conservatives I know personally are very in the closet about it. You know, they have to hide away, especially the
Okay.
culture I'm in right now, the city.
Yeah. Conservatives are the most oppressed. We get it.
In my area, they are. You know that.
Oh, yeah, I'm
you
sure.
think I could-
know
you
your
think-
area. Conservatives are not the most oppressed.
You think I could just
live in
come
there.
out? I mean, you think I could just come out as an anarchist in like my school or something, and everything would be okay?
At Shaker would be at my school, at my old school. An anarchist is way more accepted than a conservative.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about your
Well,
school.
again, that school is not comparable to most of America. It's like one of the most progressive places.
definitely right. No, it's not. And
It's like one of the most progressive places. I don't know.
it's almost too progressive. And there's this
Not
point.
to me. I'm glad I grew up there, or else I'd probably be like a Republican or something.
You were a Republican.
Wait, you guys
Yeah.
live in New York?
No.
No, we're from the Cleveland area.
Yeah, it's in Ohio. It's a.
Gotcha. How do you guys know so much about New York, though?
Oh, I don't know how.
Jews tend to know about New York. It's just a thing.
Okay. All right.
Like, I don't know as much.
It's kind of stereotypical, but it is kind of true.
I don't. Yeah.
Some stereotypes about us are kind of true.
Most
Like
of them
Noah's
aren't.
Ark.
Most of them aren't though.
I mean, but
Yeah,
what were we talking about? A meritocracy, right? Systemic. Do I think America's a meritocracy right now? No. Do I think it could be? Of course. How do we do that? We don't lift certain groups and put others down.
But
Like-
do you really think getting rid of affirmative action right now would help bring us to a meritocracy? You think
Yes.
that's a good step towards it?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
Because there's actually a statistic when kids of color, when high school graduates of color who have lower scores than some other kids get into higher level schools because of affirmative action, they tend to drop out more. That's not helping anyone. Like if say a kid got a 31 on his ACT, which is very good.
Okay, so
But he can get into Cornell easily. But they send him to Harvard or Yale. That's not helping anyone. You know? Harvard or Yale has their admissions level lowered, and the kid is not getting. The kid is not.
think of it this.
I don't think that's how affirmative action works, though. I don't
What?
think it's like lowers the standards necessarily.
It does actually.
Yeah, think of it this. Okay, think of it this way though. Like, sure, if you're running a 50-yard dash with one leg and there's somebody else running the 50-yard dash with two legs, sure, they might overall end up getting better overall results. But the fact that the person with the one leg had a marginally close case should be a sufficient justification to put them up or promote them to a particular education system. And the reason I'm using that analogy is because there are like real material distinctions between the lives that different minority groups face, and it's not comparable. So you have to operate with that context in mind when you're like.
I'm cool with that, except because an Asian kid in a poor black neighborhood is treated differently from the black kids in the poor black neighborhood, even though they grew up in the same conditions. I'm cool. I mean, I don't particularly like it, but I feel like to make it America a true meritocracy, you kind of have to
Okay,
do
would you be in
a little
favor
bit
of
based on.
affirmative action, but
Oh,
instead of race, base it on class?
yes.
You would.
I
So,
mean, it's really the only option we have for at least right now.
so you think if we did like people who grew up in poor neighborhoods and
They
we
had affirmative action, yes.
okay, I actually think that I don't know a lot, but
Because right now, a poor Asian kid is actually hurt compared to a rich black kid.
Yeah, I don't know.
These are statistics. Asian kids get an average of 310 points taken off their SATs. White kids get an average of 70.
Oh, this is another. I'm pretty sure this is like a myth that's propagated because like they're only referring to the most of the Asians that come here come from really high up socioeconomic. Like the overall demonstrable reality is that like Asian people, first of all, their communication skills aren't the best according to the research and analysis that's done in these universities, which hinders their ability to go up in the ladder. And furthermore, like if you look at the entire data of Asian people, what happens is they take it out of context. They only show like higher up socioeconomic Asians. But like when you look at Asians in America in totality, they don't have like serious like, disadvantages in terms of structure and whatever when it comes to universities. So
Okay. But my problem is they put Asian as a broad term when different level, like different Asians from different countries go to college at different lakes, like Cambodian and Laotian Asians, people who came or have ancestors or came from those countries, go to college at like 15 or 20, 15% Laotian Americans and 20, I think it's like 20 or 25% for Cambodian Americans, compared to like, it's over 50, 60% for Indian and Chinese and Japanese and Koreans in America. So when you have a broad term for Asian, you hurt some people that could be from a small Asian country, poor, and grew up poor in America, but they're still classified as Asian, so they get set back. This is why I'm more in favor of a class thing.
all right.
I think affirmative
okay.
action should be phased out eventually, but for right now, we need it based on
I
class.
feel like that.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I got muted. I muted myself on accident, my bad. So yeah, what I was gonna say is that like I don't think that it's bigotry that leads certain Asian people to like who are in poor socioeconomic conditions to still get screwed over. I think that it's the fact that they're in those socioeconomic conditions in the first place that lead them to not getting the same scores and grades. And I think that actually demonstrably proves that the material conditions are what's actually foundational. I don't think there's any empirical data or studies that say, okay, this is a fact that bigotry is the reason why less wealthy Asians are disadvantaged in the school systems because we want to promote Black people. I think it's a zero sum. I don't think it's a
I
zero
don't
sum.
think it's bigotry. I don't think it's bigotry. I just think it's the categorization based on, is it Title IX? I keep forgetting numbers.
For
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It
I'm
was
not sure
when you
I
have
agree.
I
broad
think that sounds
classifications. I
right.
don't think it's bigotry. I just think it's broad classification. Just that. You know,
What? Can you repeat it? Sorry.
I said I don't think it's
Okay.
bigotry. I just think it's broad classification passed under. I think it was. Is it called Title IX?
Sounds right. I'm not.
I don't remember, but they had brought the Obama administration put some broad classifications on. So also children of African immigrants tend to be either very wealthy or very poor in America. There's not really a middle ground.
Well, like you mean like Nigeria or wherever like the rich ones come from? I think it's Nigeria.
Right. Or some more well-off African countries.
No, in general, immigrants from Africa tend to do better than the African Americans that live here because
Right.
usually, like when you're immigrating away from Africa, you have some degree of wealth. So it's
Or education. It's mostly education. It's not wealth, it's education most of the time.
Well, those are highly correlated, though.
No, I'm not saying most yeah, they are highly correlated, not corrugated, that's metal. Um I do think they're correlated, but I think I don't think wealth is the most important factor in immigration anymore. I think it's mostly education.
But if you have more wealth, you're going to get better education. That's just how
No,
things work.
no, I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm
So,
agreeing with you. But
so
that's why I
well,
think.
wouldn't wealth be like the main factor though? Because
Okay, let's just say wealth is the main factor. That's not my main focus. The the children of these well-off African immigrants are getting placed in the same. Even though if they grow up in a very well-off neighborhood, they're still classified as black. They don't take into account their economic status, and they can get scholarships and be able to place in higher schools.
Okay, so there's definitely like a historical context that leads people to calibrate those policies. So like I don't have a strong opinion on like whether or not wealthy black kids should get affirmative action. If I'm going to be honest, I'd probably agree with you that that's not good. But when it comes to like these broad sweeping affirmative action policies that exist right now, they overwhelmingly affect people that are economically disadvantaged because like most of the people in these poor marginalized communities aren't really that wealthy and aren't really that rich. So you're still by default de facto helping marginalized communities and poor people with affirmative action.
I mean, there's a difference between marginalized community and poor people.
well, poor people are marginalized.
I'd argue you have to be,
Poor people they're poor people of all races, though.
I'd argue poor and middle class people, I'd argue that you cannot be rich and truly marginalized. If that's a controversial take, I genuinely do think that.
No, I agree.
Okay.
I'm agreeing. I'm saying when you say marginalized communities, you mostly mean communities of color. I don't agree. I think communities should be based. I don't think they should be, but I think currently in our society they are based on wealth. There's a middle class society that's different. Is like culture. It's different from a low class and high class culture, and that's not based on race or anything. It's just based on the amount of wealth that you grew up with. You know?
Right. I'm saying that there would be twofold distinction, right? So even if I were to agree with you that it's unfair that like poor white people do not get the same economic benefits as other marginalized communities. First of all, obviously there's a historical context that might have led to this economic exploitation in the first place. I'm not saying it doesn't exist with white people, but the character of it is obviously different. And second of all, like even if that were the case, you're still overwhelmingly empirically helping poor people with these affirmative action policies. So I think just completely getting rid of them would be net worse in the long run in terms of utility, either way.
No, I'm not in favor of getting rid of affirmative actions yet. I think eventually they should 100% be phased out.
Well, how do you plan on getting there?
By
What do you want to do in order to get to that point where we can
well,
phase it
first
out?
we need to have.
He wants to abolish.
No, go ahead. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, okay. You cut out for a second.
Hello?
Hello?
You're
Yeah, I'm
cutting out.
there. No, I'm there.
Oh, you're there? Were you
Yeah.
saying something?
Oh no, I was just saying his solution was to abolish systemic racism. That's it.
I, I just don't think there's systemic racism. Of course, there's
Okay.
racism, and it's a virus that we can only hope to eliminate, but it's seeming like an impossible task. We want to. It's kind of like COVID. We want to. We all want to, but it's seeming harder and harder by the day.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I
like
just
at a
compared
certain point,
to
if there's
the Kung Flu. Wow.
don't call it the Kung Flu. Why?
Not. It's funny.
It's
It's kind
kind of
of it's kind of bigoted.
it's kind of like what's the word for like bigotry against Chinese people? I don't. There's a word for it.
Xenophobia, yeah.
It's like xenophobia.
Yeah, it's xenophobia.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. I won't call it. Can I at least call it the cough cough?
The what?
The cough cough.
Just
It gives you a cough cough.
call it COVID, like a normal person.
Who says I'm normal?
Fair enough.
Fine. Okay, COVID.
Oh, you're not normal, so you can be like an Antifa leftist then.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Don't call me an anti-vaxxer. I at least
You
am.
said Antifa.
Oh God, I hate them.
What's wrong with Antifa? Antifa are cool.
I mean, I hate fascists as much as the next guy, but I'm also against violence. I don't know, it's just something fundamental about me. I don't think we'll get anywhere with
Okay,
violence.
I think this is going to be a good conversation if we want to get into the legitimate use of
No, do you want
violence.
to talk about? Do you want to talk about whether or not the Chinese virus is racist?
Nah, because I think we all agree that it low-key is.
Okay, good.
Then why do you keep doing it?
Because it's funny.
Come on, that's
You could be
not
better.
I'm
justification.
not a
Better.
perfect person.
Well, you can't just say that and not try to be better. That just sounds like you're justifying your own bigotry.
Fine, America, I am deeply sorry for calling the Wuhan and Kung flu. I truly apologize and I will never
We
do
don't want like a apology video. Just don't do it.
Oh, I shouldn't be like Ellen? Okay.
All right. Anyways, what was the other thing?
Ellen.
No, I said something before you brought up that, and
Oh, is violence justified?
yeah, justified violence. What do you think? You think it's ever justified?
Yes.
When? Like political violence.
Okay, maybe not political violence.
Well, how do you like?
What kind of violence is justified then?
Yeah, what kind of?
If you're I think wars. If a war is for a good cause, violence is justified.
What kind
Okay.
of war is for a good cause?
So
I
why do
think-
we fight wars?
How do we define wars?
No, I'm saying like why is a war a good cause?
No, I'm saying if the war has a good cause,
Yeah,
Like-
but like why?
Like what? Like what's the good cause?
like the first Gulf War, for example, the liberation of Kuwait.
That's okay. I'm not sure that was a good war. I mean,
We helped save a country.
yeah, but how many people did we kill in approximately? Well, that wasn't really the point I was trying to make. I'm saying, what if the enemy that we need to liberate ourselves from is our own government? So why can't we use that same justification for the war, except
I
on
don't think it's
internal?
considered political. If you would call that political violence, then I'm okay with that. Like if the government ever tried to take away like the First Amendment or certain parts of it, yeah, okay, or the Second Amendment especially, I'd get my AR-15 and run up to the Capitol.
Okay, so taking away the First Amendment, like when, okay.
Or the third, because I don't want to have soldiers sleeping in my bed.
Me neither. No one wants that.
Gotcha. So like, wouldn't Trump saying we should, wouldn't Trump like tear gassing like innocent protesters be a violation of the First Amendment, or like brazen violence against peaceful demonstrators? Isn't that
When
like?
he literally said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. He literally said that.
Yeah,
That's,
looting isn't peaceful.
Yeah, but even if the looting isn't peaceful, he's trying to incite violence that ends up disproportionately targeting peaceful protesters.
You can't stop violence by they saying they want peace on them, but they're not acting peaceful. You can't say peace, we want peace, and then go rob a store.
Okay, let me say this. Okay, what if I said, hey, right-wing militias, go after the Mexicans that are committing crimes, just those ones. You're probably going to be disproportionately affecting non-violent criminal Mexicans. So like the way Trump phrased that terminology, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, sure, he might not have explicitly said it, but he's disproportionately, in the end of the day, still targeting innocent people by default because of his rhetoric, right?
Are they innocent?
people are just gonna call any protesters looters. That's just what's gonna happen.
No. There's a difference.
There is a difference, but it's not going to be like when somebody's going out there and shooting protest looters, they're not going to be like closely identifying, okay, this guy's innocent, so I'm not going to target them, but this person isn't, so then I'm going to like they're not.
Like if you're in a crowd with, like, let's say there's a crowd where like half the people are looters and half of them are peaceful.
In the crowd, I don't think it's that.
If half the people are like looters and half are peaceful, then someone goes in like, okay, I'm gonna start shooting the looters. Like, are they really gonna check to see, okay, this person's a looter, this person's peaceful, or are they just?
I think if they're actively in your store, that's legal trespassing, and you have the right to protect your own property.
Okay, so let's just assume property rights do matter, right? Like, let me just assume I agree with you. I still don't see how it's more important than trying to bring back like a significant change with police reform and everything. I don't see how that's more critical.
We have to look at what Martin Luther King did in the 60s. He he brought the end of Jim Crow with peace.
No,
it wasn't Malcolm X who did
It's,
that.
it's more
it was
complicated.
not.
than
It wasn't
that.
just. It wasn't just peaceful. There was a lot of like violent action, and that
Yeah, there
helped.
was a lot of violent action committed against them, but they still were peaceful.
No,
No,
a lot of
no.
the civil rights activists, the people who were fighting for equality, were also violent. A lot of them were. And
Malcolm X was, but he didn't get much progress.
that actually helped with creating, like, actually helped. If it was just peaceful protesting in the 60s, I don't think it probably wouldn't have fixed anything. Because the government's like, it doesn't like, the government isn't going to feel threatened, so they're not going to be like, oh, well, what's in it for me? Like, you're just marching in the streets. Okay. Like, they're not going to care if it's just peaceful. That's the problem.
The government realized if they give them rights, and that administration gives them the rights, they secure the vote of those people.
Yeah, but those people are negligible contingent of the population, and when you could stoke racial tensions and appeal to the majority, you're probably going to do that, unless there's like this violent shakeup that threatens your ability to perpetually maintain.
Wait, what majority are we talking about here?
We're
Because
talking about like
America does not agree with Black Lives Matter.
The majority doesn't agree with Black Lives Matter? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
No, the majority
What?
supports Black Lives Matter. What do you mean? There's been
No,
things that came out that say like 70% of Americans support the cause.
the cause, but not the organization.
What?
I support the cause, but I do not support the
What's
organization.
what do you mean by the organization?
Black Lives Matter, the organization.
okay, so wait, but you don't even think systemic racism exists. Like, what cause of theirs do you support? Like,
Yeah, like what do you support that the cause?
Well, it's not supporting. I think they have the right to protest.
So you don't actually support their cause. You just support their
I'm
rights.
not against it, is what I'm saying.
okay.
I think they have the right to protest peacefully.
Okay, gotcha.
But so that's not the same thing as saying you support their cause, though, because you don't
No,
support
No,
like
but
their
I also
reasons
don't
for
support
doing it.
all
That
lives
if you
matter.
supported their cause, you would support their reasons for protesting.
No, but I feel like I have to say I support the cause because I don't support All Lives Matter either. Because what I really think is we're all human. Because
That's the same thing as all lives matter, though.
no, we're all human. We should all be treated equally.
But that's everyone agrees with that.
Right. Yeah.
So how is
All
that
lives
like?
matter and Black
How
Lives
is
Matter.
that? How is that like? Do you think Black Lives Matter doesn't agree with that?
I don't like the term Black Lives Matter. If it was Black Lives Matter too, of course
But
I
that's
do.
what's it's implied. It's heavily
No,
implied. No, why would
Implied my ass. Not everyone gets. I mean, I of course get it. I don't think an organization.
no one genuinely thinks? No one in good faith genuinely thinks that Black Lives Matter means only Black Lives Matter.
But
Yeah,
no,
just
I
like
don't
a good
think
exercise
I
for
think
Black
they put an emphasis
Person.
I think they put an extreme emphasis on Black lives, and they don't care when people of other races are, being killed.
Okay.
So, two points. Okay, one, I agree with you that there is some people of other racial groups that are targeted by police, but the reason why they're calling themselves Black Lives Matter is because statistically and empirically, it's disproportionately towards a certain marginalized community. So it makes sense why we should emphasize that minority group's interests and call it Black Lives Matter.
You're right. Black people are disproportionately abused by police by sheer numbers of population of America. But unfortunately, this is an unfortunate fact, and I wish it weren't true. Black people do commit more crimes, and
my God.
no, they literally do.
Even if you take
I don't know what to say.
Even if you take crime into consideration, first of all, that's not like a justification for disproportionately targeting.
No, when you put in crime, it's only like I think it's like 2 or 3% more than white people, and that's negligible.
You do realize that meta-analysis still takes into consideration the fact that they commit different rates of crimes, right? And like I'm saying, like even if we were to take that factor into consideration, even if we were to commit a violent crime, that isn't like a justification for having disproportionate numbers compared to white violent criminals in terms of not resisting arrest and
No,
still.
what I'm saying is white people tend to get abused by police more for nonviolent crimes, and black people tend to get abused by police more for violent crimes.
Okay, so I don't know if that's true that white people get to more abused by nonviolent crimes, but in totality, if you're to take both into consideration and mix both races and then look at it empirically, one is still disproportionately targeted by a massive degree.
Okay. I'll take. Okay, let's assume that's true because I don't have the numbers in front of me and I have to be somewhere in half an hour and I don't really want to go searching databases right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Fair.
Well, let's just go with the fact that's true. Okay, let's just go with that. Should we be fighting for violent people in general?
But it's not that simple though. Like,
No, but I'm
yeah,
asking
like
you. No,
crime isn't
I'm
just
not
something
saying
that people
it's a question.
individually choose.
I'm asking you, should we?
Well, it's not that simple. That's a very leading question.
No. I don't mean it
It's
as
a
a
loaded
leading
question. That's a loaded.
I'm genuinely
Yeah.
curious what you guys think. Should
But
we?
that question is very loaded. Like,
It's a pointless question because I don't think it's demonstrative of Black Lives Matter in its totality. I think it's a nuanced organization with different.
Okay, you're right. Maybe it is too nuanced for a yes or no answer. You're right. Okay, that was a leading question thinking back on
yes, it was.
it. Okay, what do you guys
So,
want to
like,
ask me?
what?
I feel like you guys have a lot to ask me about this subject.
Well, I think we're just having a conversation.
No, I want to hear your guys' question because I want to explain my point of view.
All right. Do you think that crime just is like something people individually choose to do and there's no outside factors? Because that's.
Do I think there are no outside factors? No.
Do you think it's like there are? Do you think outside factors are like a large like thing that impacts crime?
Do I think it has a large impact? No. Do I think it has some impact? Yeah, I'm not dumb. Of course.
No, I disagree. I think that outside factors are what. So then, if it weren't for outside factors, like mostly outside factors, then why is the crime rate for Black people higher?
It's actually among poor people, not just Black people.
Yeah, but why for poor Black people is it higher?
Yeah.
Because Black people are more disproportionately, incarcerated.
So
you think?
Did I ask her though?
No, this is different. Are they disproportionately incarcerated for drug offenses? Yes. Are they disproportionately attacked by police? That's a more tricky subject. They're two different questions. Are they incarcerated for drug offenses? Yeah, of course. The drug laws are fucking dumb. I'm for decriminalization, or I don't want to say government-funded rehab, but I am for at least equal crimes, for example, for crack and cocaine. Like 5 grams and 5 grams, or 500 grams and 500, whatever. I want to make it equal.
One thing I gotta say is you're one of the most progressive conservatives I've ever.
I'm not a progressive conservative.
For a conservative, you're more progressive than most conservatives I've.
I'm not a conservative. Don't call me progressive because I'm not.
I'm saying you are progressive for a conservative. I'm giving you a compliment.
I'm still extremely conservative. I just don't.
I don't think you're as conservative.
No, maybe it's for a selfish conservative reason, but that I don't want people in jail. It's because I want lower tax.
Oh.
Maybe I'm selfish for that, and I don't really care because I think drugs are bad inherently.
I feel like you are more progressive, but like you don't like that, so you're trying to rationalize.
Yeah, no, I don't like being called.
I feel like you just don't like to be called progressive. Like, no, I'm not progressive. I'm just like you just don't like.
I'm a moderate. I'm a typical Republican.
I think you're more progressive than the typical Republican.
Fiscally, no.
Okay, so what's your opinion on legalized weed?
Duh.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Most conservatives agree with that.
I mean, on YouTube, isn't necessarily like demonstrative of like the average conservative.
No, they're pulls out. Most conservatives really don't give a shit about weed anymore. This isn't the 1990s.
Oh, okay. I thought the poll just meant all people in general, not just conservatives.
No. Conservatives.
I'm pretty sure like over 50% of Republicans support it, but I don't know if that's true. I think
No, that's true. It's still under 60%, but I know it's been growing.
And it's like 55% of
anymore. Weed is seen as actually a healthier alternative to smoking tobacco and drinking. Honestly, I'd rather have people high than drunk. I think alcohol is way worse than weed.
I agree with that.
I never drank and I never will.
Will you smoke weed?
I'm not legally allowed to say if I've done either of those.
Occupied. Put this on pause. Stop recording for a minute.
Oh, well, I don't know how to like edit together both clips. Do you want to like end soon or?
We can wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I think how long
Alright.
we've been. I feel like it's been like an hour or so.
It has been. It's been actually a really nice conversation.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed this. This is like, this was nice.
We'd love to have you back on.
All right.
If you want.
If you want to, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So how do we want to wrap this up? Are we done with the conversations? Are we gonna do our? We don't have an outro, but we can improvise an outro.
Let's say bye in every fucking language.
No, we're not gonna. That's gonna take another hour.
Okay, I gotta go.
All right. Well, goodbye. This was the Pair of Jacks podcast. Thank you for coming on, Zoomer Nation, and thank everyone who will be listening to this when it gets released for listening. So goodbye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you again. Bye.